session, we were discussing about the fundamental goals of an operating system. So in that, we first discussed about efficient use. Okay, so I gave examples of how efficient use will be done and what are the advantages of it and what are the disadvantages. So both will be there. So next we will go to the next goal of the OS, which is user convenience. So user convenience means what? So it provides convenient methods of using a computer system. Okay. So whatever the computer system or the PC or laptop or the embedded system you want to use, it should be very easy to use. Then only that particular system or the operating system will be popular. Okay. So again, I'll give an example. So why the Android operating system for mobiles has become popular? Because of ease of use. It's very very easy to use, and the interface that you have is it can be easily it can be easily understood by majority of the persons. Okay, so even the elder persons also can operate a mobile phone with Android OS. That is why it is very popular. It is easy to use. Okay. On the other hand, so there is one more OS known as iOS, which is a operating system for the Apple phones, the iPhones, which is not so easy to use. Okay, so a common person cannot easily adapt to iOS. Okay, the settings it has, the interface it has. Okay, he may not find it very easy to use. So that is why majority of people prefer Android OS over the iOS. So that will come under user convenience. Okay, so we shall see what else will come. So this user convenience has many facets indicated in table 1.1. You shall see the table. So in early days, okay, so whenever the computers or the embedded systems were introduced, okay, in the early days of computing, user convenience was synonymous with bare necessity. Okay, the mere ability to execute a program written in a higher level language was considered adequate, more than sufficient. Okay, so in early days when the systems were just introduced, then the user convenience was not so much of importance. It was not given so much of importance. So then the only importance was to execute a program which was written in high level language. If that is done, then the computer is doing its job more than sufficient. Okay, so that was considered a very big deal. Executing a program written in a higher level language, that was a very big deal. But user convenience was not much given the preference those days. Okay, but as the operating systems, as the PCs evolved, so this user convenience came into picture. More and more user convenience also was given importance. The experience with early operating systems led to demand for better service. Okay, which in those days meant only fast response. So in early days, better service means it meant only one thing, which was fast response. So whenever you run a program, the PC should respond to your command very fast. So if that was the case, that was more than sufficient. Okay, but as and when the operating systems, the PCs evolved, user convenience became more of importance. Example I'll give. See, I'll open this Word files here. So I have shown an interface here. Hope this interface is visible to you. Yes. Whether this interface is visible? Okay, zoom in. Okay. Yeah. So now you can see here. So this is an interface from DOS operating system. Okay. So it was a primitive operating system invented in early 90s. So which was known as DOS, disk operating system. So you can see here, it is telling you welcome to free DOS. Okay. So welcome to free DOS. This is a primitive operating system. You can see here this DOS. What is the interface it had? DOS. See here, it had a command interface. That's all. So you can see welcome to free DOS. Then it displayed some information. Okay, so installed PS2. So what is the version of the DOS that is installed? Okay, and then you can see it is displaying some information. C colon, okay, then backward slash, then arrow. So dir. Okay, so this dir, if you remember, if some are familiar with this dir is a command given by the user of the PC. Okay, whoever is programming the PC or whoever is using the PC, he has to give this command dir. Okay, so it was a command interface wherein to communicate with the OS, you have to use commands. Okay, so there was no double click and all. Okay, there was no drag and drop and all. There was no interface. There was no graphical user interface like the present day systems. See, there was no interface like this. Okay, there were no icons like this so that you can go and just double click so that it will open. No, in those days, nothing was there like this. There was no graphical user interface, which is as good as today. So this was the command interface that was there. And whoever is using the system, he has to remember the commands. Okay, so to open a file, what is the command required? To close a file, what is the command required? To change the directory, what is the command required? Okay, so all this should be, the user has to remember all these commands. So just get the idea how difficult it was to use the OS or use the PC those days, because whoever is using the PC has to remember the commands. It was completely command oriented. So as soon as a dir is given, the command, it will list out all the files and folders that were there in that particular drive. So in C drive, these were the files and folders that were there. Okay, so like this, and here again some other commands. See how so backward slash p. Okay, what it will do? It will pause after each screen full of information. Okay, so this is the command. So next, backward slash w means, so it will uses wide list format. So backward slash a means displays files with specified attributes. So like this, for every function you have to do, for every operation you have to do in a OS, you have to remember the command and you have to type the command. Completely command oriented. Getting this? So this was the interface, command interface in the early days, wherein user convenience was not considered as so much of importance. But as the days evolved, okay, as the days evolved, you can see the interface change like this. Okay, so you can see this is the interface of a Windows 98 system. Okay, so it is the operating system known as Windows 98. See, so as the days evolved, so now it is more familiar to you people. So this interface, because there is a mouse pointer, there are icons here, shortcut icons. Okay, so that you can, if you double click, it will open. So no need to remember commands now. Okay, so as the days evolved, so the command interface was replaced by a graphical user interface. So I told it as GUI, GUI. Okay, so this was how it was evolved, and so the now it became more user friendly, user convenient. Okay, it became more user convenient so that majority of the users can use this. Okay, because you need not remember any commands. So previously only those who remember the commands only can use the system. But now those who can just operate the mouse, okay, those who understood English, okay, they could use a system using this graphical user interface. You see, so there is a start button here, very similar to whatever we have in Windows 10 now. Okay, you can see these are the options that were available. Okay, shut down documents, favorites, program settings, right? So this is how the OS involved. More and more user convenience was introduced as the days evolved. Okay, yeah, you can see that is what is explained here. So in early operating system, it had command line interfaces. So whatever I showed in DOS, pre-DOS, right? So you have to remember the commands, so which required user to type in command and specify values of its parameters. The users needed substantial training. You can see here. To just use the computers, the users needed training. So in those days, okay, they used to train the users to use the systems. Substantial training to learn the use of commands, which were acceptable. which was acceptable because most users were scientists and or computer professionals in those days. Okay, because computers were only available in laboratories. Okay, or in high-end, you can say in companies. Okay, so computers were not used in day-to-day life in those days, but gradually they started to become popular. They became means very familiar to day-to-day interface. So every house started to have a computer system. Then so simpler interfaces were needed, okay, to facilitate computers by new classes of users. Because now not only scientists or computers or professionals were using it, everyone were using it. So in order to in order for a common man to use the systems or the operating system, so the interfaces should be simple. So that is why graphical user interfaces, which are also known as GUIs, were introduced or evolved. These interfaces used icons, as I told, as we are using today. So as I told, as I showed in Windows 98 operating system. So on screen, represent programs, okay, so and files and interpreted mouse clicks. So just if you click the mouse on the icons and associated menus, commands consenting to them were executed. You don't need to remember the commands, just double click. That's okay. So hope you are getting. So this is the second goal of user convenience. Sorry, second goal of OS, which is user convenience. Okay. So this table 1.1. So it lists out all the factors of user convenience. So which are the factors you have to consider whenever you are dealing with user convenience. Okay. So what is this? First one is necessity. So ability to execute programs, use the file system. So this is the basic necessity for user convenience. So whatever you want to execute, whatever the program the user wants to execute, it should be executed by the PC. Okay, so that is the first facet or the factor for user convenience. So next is good service. So what do you mean by good service? Speedy response to computational requests. Okay, so example for good services. Example, see, let's say I double click on this Microsoft Edge. Okay, so I double click on it. I want to open it, so I'll double click on it. So as soon as I double click, see immediately it opened. Correct. So this was a good service by the OS because the response was quick to whatever to my request. Whatever the request I gave, it replied to my request with a less amount of time. Okay. So this is what you say user convenience. So the second factor in user convenience, which is good service. Okay. That's all. So next, user-friendly OS. So what do you mean by user-friendly OS? As I told, easy to use commands, graphical user interface. So this, whatever the interface the OS is providing, it should be easy to use. So as soon as you see this interface, you should be able to understand what you have to do in order to execute a program or in order to do whatever you want to do. Okay, that's why. Suppose you want to go to my computer, just go to start, okay, and go to file manager or documents, picture, like that. You want to open a program, just go and locate the program here, okay, and just double click on it. That's all. So this is what is expected. Okay, the interface should be very easy to use. So next is new programming model. So new programming model. So here he says concurrent programming model. So what do you mean by concurrent? Can anyone tell me concurrent? So there are two aspects, sequential and concurrent.
Running many programs together.
Yes.
Running many programs together.
Yes, exactly. So that is what concurrent programming means. So you are running more than one program simultaneously. Okay, more than one program or more than one process simultaneously. Okay, so that is what you people are doing multitasking. Okay, so in your mobile phones, so all the mobile phones these days are multitasking enabled. Correct. So you can open multiple apps and you can switch between those apps. Okay, with just a click. That's all. Just if you go to recent tab and select whichever the next application you want, you can go to that application. You can switch between the applications. That is concurrent programming. But in early days, this concept was not there. The programming was sequential. It was only one after the other. After one program completes, the next will get the chance to execute. There was no concurrent programming model in early days. Okay. So next, features for experts. So what do you mean by features for experts? Means to set up complex computational structures. So can anyone give an example for this? So there is a feature for experts in your Android phones. Already it is there. Can anyone tell me? Have anyone used it? Features for experts. Yes. Yeah. Have anyone used developer options in your Android phones? Developer options. Anyone knows that it is available in your Android phones?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So developer options. So that developer options is for experts. Okay. So what they do is you can change the behavior of your Android OS if you go to developer options. There are many options there. So you can explore it. So you can change some of the features of the OS. See, that will work only if you know how the OS will operate. Then only you can change the operations. Okay, so that is an example for features for exports. Okay, the developer options in your Android phone. Okay, so next user convenience feature is web-oriented features. So what do you mean by web-oriented features? Means to set up web-enabled servers. Okay, so you can use your PC, okay, or laptop as a server. So you can make your laptop or a PC or a mobile phone as a server. Okay, a web-enabled server. So that can also be done. Next is evolution. This is very important. See, any product, any OS that you launch, any OS that is available, it should evolve. Okay, then only it will survive. Okay, so it is true with humans also. Okay, it is true with humans also because evolution will only help you to survive. If you remain idle, so you will not survive. Humans will not survive. Okay, so example is the advancement in technologies. Okay, the example I'll give in 2010-11. Okay, so uh, there were still keypad phones. Okay, there were still keypad phones, and the internet was not available to everyone. Okay, the ability to access internet was not available to everyone. I'm just talking about 11 years early. That's all. Only 11 years. But from for past 11 years, there is a drastic evolution in technology, so that so now you can see the information is at your fingertips. Okay, so you can access the information just by a click on your mobile phone because every phone is connected to internet. Okay, so evolution is very important. It is important in every aspect of the life, and it is important in OS also. So what do you mean by evolution? Add new features, use new computer technologies. Okay, so can anyone tell me a feature that was added in your Android phones which was not there earlier? Yes, an example
Face
for evolution. Yes, go ahead. Yeah, any example?
Privacy has been more powerful nowadays.
Okay, so that is evolution. Yes, correct. So means in Android 9 and 8 and all. So every app was given every permission that was required directly. So whenever it was installed, it was given the permission. But nowadays in Android 10 and onwards, so you can control the permissions that you give. So whether you want to give the permission to access your location, you can enable it or disable it. Okay, or whether you want to give the permission to access your contacts. Okay, so like that. So it is a evolution feature that is added in the Android OS. Yes, correct. Any other features?
More camera options.
Okay, so that is also evolution. So applications have evolved, giving you more features. So now you can edit. You can go to Pro mode. Okay, you can change the contrast. You can change the brightness and all. So in early mobile phones, early camera apps, that was not there. So It was mere means of clicking a photo. That's all. So if you are able to take a photo, that was a big deal in early days. Okay, so trust me. So whenever we used to use, the keypad phones, so the mere ability to take the picture, that was more than sufficient. Okay, so that was a wow factor then. But now, not now nowadays. So nowadays, you require, means everyone desires that you have a 10x optical zoom. Okay, so you require a pro mode. You want to capture 4K videos. Okay, 60 frames per second, whatnot. So these are all evolution features. Okay, so these all come under user convenience. Right? See, again, these are not new to you. So you daily use these features. Okay, so just I'm telling you that you are using these features. That's all. Okay, so you have to remember it like this only, so that it will be easy for you people to write it in the exam, to express these things in your exams. Okay, so there is nothing new here. You can see that already you are using these features. And next, the third goal of OS is non-interference. Okay, so what do you mean by non-interference? So we shall see here. A computer user can face different kinds of interference in his computational activities. So execution of his program can be disrupted by actions of other persons or OS services, which he wishes to use can be disrupted in a similar manner. Okay, so what is this? We want to run a program. Let's say I want to open this Microsoft Edge. Okay, so I'll double click it. So for some reason it won't open. It won't open because so it may be due to some interference. It may be due to some interference of the OS or some third-party application that you have installed, which may be a virus. Okay, which may be a virus. That is why it is not responding. Okay, so the OS prevents such interference by allocating resources for exclusive use of programs and OS services, and has to know which files of a user can be accessed by which persons. This is very important. So it again comes to multi-user environment. Okay, multi-user. So if you remember, so if whenever you come to labs, HDL lab previously, so you have to log into EC lab. The username was EC lab, and accordingly there was a password. Okay, so what is EC lab? Actually, it is EC lab is a account. Okay, so it is an account. So there will be two accounts usually in the PCs of an organization, of a college. Okay, so usually there will be admin account and there will be a user account. This EC lab that you used to use, it was a user account. Okay, so whenever you log into EC lab, so your permissions are very limited. Okay, you cannot uninstall a program, you cannot reinstall a program, no, but you can only access whatever is there. That's all. So the permissions are very limited. Okay, that is what is talked about here. So here, which files of a user can be accessed by which persons. Okay, so usually the administrators has the majority permissions, where you can enable or disable the file permissions. So suppose the administrator wants, means he doesn't want the users to access the C drive. Okay, the administrator doesn't want the user to access the C drive. Then he can block the C drive completely. Whenever you log into EC lab, okay, so you cannot access C drive. So apart from C drive, you can access other drives. Okay, so that is what is access permission. Okay, see, it is achieved through act of authorization. Okay, so authorization here it will be provided in terms of a account and a password. Okay, suppose you want to access C drive in in EC lab account also. Suppose you want to access C drive in EC lab account also. Then what you have to do is you have to use a password. It will ask you for a password. So which is nothing but a authorization. If you have the password, then that means you are authenticated user. Then it will grant you the access to C drive. Okay, whereby a user specifies which collaborators can access what files, preventing illegal access to resources. So like this, you can also block the illegal access to a resource. Example, see, suppose someone logs into EC lab account. So like some student logs into EC lab account. Okay, using the password that is available, because that password is available with all the students, EC Lab password. She logs into that, and suppose he wants to download a file. Okay, suppose he wants to download a wallpaper or a movie, okay, or some program. So what he does is he goes to a browser and he searches for that file and he starts to download. See, this should not happen. This is not supposed to happen. Why? Because so the password he is misusing the whatever the account, because that account is only for accessing the softwares required for that lab. That's all. Okay, nothing else should be done there. So hence, so this illegal access can be prevented. So how? So the administrator, okay, the admin account, the administrator, what he will do is he will set the permission saying that so whoever logs into EC Lab account, they cannot access the internet. So that is what is the settings he will do in the admin account. So as soon as that settings are done, so if you log into EC Lab, okay, so you cannot access the internet. So it will say access denied. Okay, access is denied because you are not permitted to use the internet. You don't have the authorization to use the internet. Okay, that is what. Next, another form of interference concerns program and data stored in user files. So a computer user may collaborate with some other users, okay, some other users in development or use of computer application. Okay, so he may wish to share some of his files with them. Okay, so can you give an example for this? So how will you share your files with others? You are already doing it. Yes.
WhatsApp,
No. So that is you are actually sending a copy. Okay, you are not sharing there. You are sending a copy.
Google Files,
Yeah. So it is exactly right. Google files. Okay. So it can be a Google Drive application, Google Sheet. Okay. So wherein you are sharing your data. Okay, your data with some other person. Okay. So sharing your files with some other person. So again, whenever you share, it will ask you to set the permission whether that person can only view it or whether that person can edit the file. Okay, so you might be familiar with this. So whenever you share it, it will ask you what are the permissions you want to give. Okay, so like that. So attempts by any other person to access his files are illegal and constitute interference. So exactly. So whenever you want to share a file in Google Drive, so you will right click on that file. So you will go to share. It will ask you with whom you want to share the file. So you can give the email address of that person, and only that person can see the file or edit that file, whatever the file you have shared. Okay. If some other person tries to open that file, it will not give him the access. No, because you are given only the access to a particular person. No other person can open it. Okay. This is also comes under interference. Fine. The OS uses this information to prevent illegal access. So same with the with the same concept as Google Drive or Google Sheets, OS also uses the same concept. So if it is allowed to be accessed by the shared person, so it will give the access. If the other person doesn't have the access, so it will not give the access. Okay. So these are the three major goals of an OS. Okay. So hope you got this. We shall continue to the next topic. Operation of an OS. Okay, operation of a OS. So the primary concerns of an OS, of an operating system during its operation are, so what are the primary concerns? Execution of programs, obviously, because that is why we use a system, we use a PC or we use a laptop or we use a embedded system, because we want to execute our programs, obviously, execute our applications. Next is use of resources. So how the resources are being used, whether they are efficiently used, whether they are kept idle, okay, like that. Whether there are any illegal access to the resources, okay. Then prevention of interference with programs and resources, okay. So its key concerns are as described in this table. Key concerns in a operating of a OS. So what are the key concerns? As I told, programs. So initiate and terminate programs, that is applications. Whenever the user wants, you have to start the program. The OS should start the program. And when the user wants to terminate it, the OS has to terminate the program. Okay. Next, providing convenient methods so that several programs can work towards a common goal. So this again comes to concurrent programming, or whatever the multitasking you are doing. Saying that, there may be situations wherein you have to open two programs. Okay, you have to open two programs or two applications so that the final goal can be achieved. Okay, if you open those two programs only, the final goal can be achieved. The example I'll give. Suppose you want to navigate. Okay, you want to reach to a destination, some destination. So what you will do, you will open Google Maps or some map application. Okay, so you will open it, right? You will give the destination, right? And you will give the source. Okay, so whenever you give the source and destination, and you want to start navigating, it will ask you one thing. Any maps, it will ask you, grant me the permission to use your location. So you have to grant the permission to use the location. How will you grant the location to use your permission? How will you grant the permission to use your location? How will you share the location?
By pressing allow.
Yeah, not allow. You have to go and switch on the GPS, correct? You have to go and switch on the GPS. See, as soon as you switch on the GPS, so there is one more OS program that is running in background, which is collecting your whatever the location, and it is sharing that location information to the maps application. Okay, so now you can see there are two programs that are working together. One is the program that is OS application, which is collecting the location information, and that location information is shared to the maps, and maps is using that location information to identify the location where you are, and it will guide you to reach your destination. Okay, so now you can see multiple programs, that is in this case two programs are working together in order to achieve a common goal, which is reaching your destination. So hope you got the example. Okay, so next, resources. So next concern for operating an OS, okay, operation of OS is resources. Ensuring the availability of resources in the system and allocating them to the program. Okay. See, again, as I told, there can be, let's say, in your environment, there can be, let's say, 1 GB of memory, operating memory, or the primary memory. So the OS, what it will do is it will make sure that 1 GB of the memory is efficiently used, so that whatever the program is asking for, the memory, it is allocated whenever it is requested. Okay, so it is effective allocation of memory is done. Effective use of memory is done. It is not only about memory; it can be of any other resources also. It can be a printer, it can be a scanner. Okay, it can be an IO device, any sort of IO device. Okay, like that. So all these come under resources, and the OS makes sure that these resources are well maintained and they are shared. They are made available to the programs whenever they are requested for that. Okay, that is resources. Then next one is scheduling. Okay, scheduling or scheduling. It can, whatever you call it. So scheduling, deciding when and for how long to devote the CPU to a program. Okay, this is what is scheduling. So what do you mean by this? Scheduling is concerned with CPU. Remember that CPU, and what it will do, deciding when and how far a program will be given the chance to use the CPU. Okay, so as I told, example in multitasking, or as I told, so in the previous example, there were there was a concurrent programming model wherein more than one program is simultaneously running in a system. So there, let's say there are three programs. So program 1, program 2, and program 3. There are three programs. but there is only one CPU. Remember, always only one CPU will be there in the PC. Okay, that is what is the assumption, right? So we'll assume that there is only one CPU in a system that we are using, in a PC that you are using. So now there are three programs that want to use the CPU. Okay, so how will you decide out of these three programs which one will you select, or which one will you give the chance to use this CPU? So that selection process, the selection decision is done in the scheduling process. Okay, that decision is done in the scheduling process. So the scheduler will decide whether program 1 will get the CPU to use it, whether program 2 will get the CPU to use it, or whether program 3 will get the CPU to use it. See, again, there are various factors based on which the selection will be done. Okay, so we shall see that in the module 2. There is a separate section for scheduling. We shall see that what will happen in scheduling. Okay. Next is protection. So again, I talked about protection. Okay. So same will come here. So protect data and programs against interference from other users and their programs. Okay. See, again, this there is an example for this that we can give. So means there may be an instance whenever you're using your laptop or PC. Suppose you go and suppose you want to delete a file, but that file will not get deleted. It says that that is a read-only file. Okay, some might have experienced it. Okay, some might not have experienced it, but there may be chances like this. You may get a message, sir, that whenever you want to delete a file, so it will not get deleted. It says permission is required. It says it is a read-only file. Okay, it is a read-only file. So even if you want to make any changes in that file, that is also not possible. If you open that file and if you want to try and change the contents of the file, that is also not allowed. Okay, it is a read-only file. So that is what is protect data and programs. So you are protecting the data. So you are protecting the file means, so if someone wants to delete it, so there is no permission to delete. So that whatever the data is there in that file, it is protected. It is integrated. Okay. So these are the concerns whenever means the key concerns of an operating system. Okay. Yeah. So accordingly, there are three principal functions that OS does. Okay. So this we saw here, three principal concerns. Yeah. So yeah, we'll discuss it. So three principal concerns of an operating system functions. So the first principal function is program management. Okay. So what all will come under program management? So the OS initiates the program, arranges their execution on the CPU, and terminates them when they complete their execution. So these come under program management. Okay, because obviously first thing a user wants is to execute his program, to execute his application in a CPU, in a PC or a laptop or in an embedded system. Okay, so to do that, the principal function of the OS is program management, which will manage. That is, it will initiate the program, arrange its execution in the CPU. See, one thing you have to remember, the program will not complete its operation until it gets the CPU time, until it will get its opportunity to use the CPU. Whenever it gets the opportunity to switch CPU, then only it progresses. Okay, it makes a progress. Unless and until it will not get the CPU, it will not make any progress. Okay, and then terminates them when they complete their execution. Okay, so since many programs exist in the system at any time, the OS performs a function known as scheduling. Yeah, we talked about this just now. To select a program for execution, as I told, there will be many programs, and out of many programs, which program will be selected to get the CPU? That depends on various factors, as I told. Okay. See, one of the example for scheduling, okay, is your queue. Okay, standing in a queue in any let's say in any purpose, standing in a queue. Suppose, example, you want to buy a ticket to a train, okay, an offline ticket to a train. So you go and stand in a queue in a counter. Okay, at a counter, you stand in a queue. So how the processing will be done there? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me how the processing is done in a queue? Yes?
First come, first serve.
Yes, exactly. So first come, first serve. It is very much what is the arrangement in a queue. So whenever you go and stand in a queue, so the person who is standing at the you can say beginning of the queue, okay, who is standing first, he will get his chance to take the ticket first. Okay, so then the second person, third person, and it goes on. The list goes on until the last person is serviced. So this is one, you can say one way of scheduling. Okay, one approach of scheduling. Wherein, so there are let's say 10 programs. Sorry, I will take the example of 3 programs only. Program 1, program 2, and program 3. So now they are standing in a, let's say, queue. Okay, they are standing in a queue. So first the program 2 is standing, then the program 1 is standing, and then at the last the program 3 is standing. So this is the queue. So which will be given the first chance? Obviously, program number 2. Program number 2 will be selected and it will be given the CPU, or it will be given time to execute. After 2, then 1 will be given the chance to execute, and then 3 will be given the chance to execute. This is one way of scheduling. Okay. So next principal function is resource management. Resource management. So what all comes under resource management? OS allocates resources like memory and I/O devices when a program needs them. Okay. Whenever a program needs them, the OS allocates memory and I/O devices to them. Whenever a program terminates, it deallocates the resources and allocates to other programs that need it. Very simple. Okay. So whenever you need it, you ask for it. So whom will you ask? The OS. Okay. So then the OS, it will check whether that resource is free. If that resource is free, it will allocate that resource to you people. Okay. Whoever is asking, whichever program is asking for that resource. So once that resource is allocated, the program continues. It completes its execution using that resource. So after it completes, the resource allocated to that program is deallocated, and that resource is given to some other program which needs it, so that it can continue its operation. Very simple. Okay, it is very day-to-day like activity. That's it. Next is security. Security and protection. We have talked about this. Okay, same thing. Illegal access. Okay, security and protection. So authentication using a password. So nowadays the authentication can be given using a biometric, okay, fingerprint, correct, or a facial recognition, okay, or even through voice. That can also be done, and even through iris scanners. Okay, so what do you mean by iris scanner? Can you tell me iris scanner? Iris scanner. Have you not seen it anywhere in movies and all? Iris scanner.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what it will do?
It's a kind of biometric identification.
No, iris scanner. It will scan your eye. Okay, so it will scan your eye and it will take the whatever the information of your eye. Okay, so the pupil, it will take the pupil and it will match it with the database that is already there. And if you are authenticated, so then you will be allowed into the system. Okay, the same system may be employed in your future mobile phones also. Okay, it is no big deal now because many features are already available in your mobile phones, so that can also come for more security. So there is an iris scanner. So if you will scan your eye, okay, then it will allow you to use your phone. That can also. So common tasks performed by a OS. So what are the common tasks performed by the OS? First thing is maintain a list of authorized users. Okay. So who will do it? System administrator. See, in a single PC, you can have multiple accounts. Okay, you can have more than 3, 4, 5, 6 accounts also. Yes, so this multiple accounts can also be created in mobile phones in Android 9 and above. Okay, have you tried it any time? You can create multiple accounts in a mobile phone also. So the first account will be yours, which is the admin account. You can create a user account also. Okay, wherein so that user account you can install and remove the applications that you don't want for the other user to use. Okay, and then you can give your phone to use by the other user. So he can use that particular account, but your files and your folders will be intact. Okay, so that is allowed in Android 9 and above. Okay, so those who are not tried, they can try it. Okay, just Google it and you will find videos. That is maintain a list of authorized users. That is what the first task of OS. Next, construct a list of all resources in the system, and this is done during startup or booting process. Okay, during booting or startup process, a list of all resources in the system will be listed. Okay, so I'll give an example for this. So in early days, what would happen is there was no concept of plug and play. Okay, there was no concept of plug and play in a PC or a laptop or an embedded system. Can anyone give or can anyone tell me what do you mean by plug and play? Where are you people, man? Huh? Just logged in and gone away. Can anyone give me an example or what do you mean by a plug and play? Plug and play. We're already using it.
USB.
Yeah, USB. Exactly. Yeah, USB. So it can be a USB device, like a storage device, or it can be a USB mouse or a keyboard. Okay. So as soon as you plug it to your PC or a laptop, so it will recognize it and it will install the necessary driver for it, and you can immediately start using that device. Okay, that is the concept of plug and play. So the name itself indicates you plug it and you can use it. Okay, that is what you mean by plug and play. So that concept was not there in the earlier systems. See, suppose you connect a new device, you connect a new IO device, you connect a new printer, scanner, whatever. So the system would means it would not have recognized it. Okay, in early days, what you have to do is you have to restart your system. Okay, so whenever you restart your system, then it will check whether there are any new devices connected, and whether if there are any new devices connected, then it will make a list of all that devices that were connected, and it will uh, install the drivers for it, and it will be ready to use then. Okay, that was the concept in early days, not now. These days it is plug and play. Okay, so construct all list of all resources in the system. Okay, so I'll just show you the list of all resources in my system here. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go to navigation, so right click properties. Okay, see there is an option here, device manager. So I'll just click on this device manager. You can do it on your PC or laptop. So see here. So as soon as I give the device manager, it will show me all the list of devices that are connected, presently connected to my system. The keyboards, okay, then firmware, okay, CD drives, okay, display adapters. So you can see there are two display adapters because I have a graphics card and then I have inbuilt graphics. Fine. Then camera. So one inbuilt camera is there. Bluetooth device is connected. Okay, so like this. So it will. So what OS will do is it will list out all these devices. Okay, it will make or it will maintain a list of all these devices which are connected to your system. So this was previously done when When this was done, usually it was done during the startup or during the booting process, but now it is plug and play. So as soon as you connect it, it will show there in the device manager. Okay. So next task is initiate execution of programs. So when it will be done at user command. So whenever you want to open a process or a program or application, if you double click it, the OS will start to execute that program. Okay. Then maintain resource usage information by programs and current status of all programs. So when it will be done continuously during OS operation. Okay. So see here what it is doing, maintain uh, resource usage information and current status of all programs. Okay, so have you used this feature in your Android phone? Resource usage information by programs. Have you used it on your mobile phone? Yes. See, nowadays the mobile phones, the OSs are coming with a digital well-being app. Okay, it is pre-installed digital well-being app. If you go to that app, so you'll come to know that how much screen time, that is how much for how long the screen is on. Okay, so how long you used your mobile phone, how long you used an application, so which application are you using more, okay, which application you are using less. So all these are maintained by the OS. So it will maintain the usage of resources. So your LCD screen is a resource. Okay, your memory is a resource. Which application has used the data more? Okay, so every information is available in that digital well-being app. Okay, or if you want to see your battery consumption, just go to settings and go to battery. So under that, it will show you which application is consuming more battery and for how much duration. Okay, so all the information will be there. So that is what is maintain resource usage. Okay. Next, maintain current status of all resources and allocate resources to programs when requested. Okay. So see, maintain current status of all resources. What do you mean by this is, suppose there are two printers. Okay. So out of two printers, whether both the printers are free, whether both the printers are already allocated. So that is what is the status of the printer. Okay. If the printer is allocated to some application, so that status of that printer will be allocated. That means no other application will get the access to that printer. Okay, that is what you mean by maintain the current status of resource. See, it is just like visiting your library. Okay, so if you go to a library and if you want a book, so the librarian will search for the book, and if that book is available, so he will allocate that book to you. He will give the book to you. If that book is not available, if it is already allocated or if it is already taken by some other person, you will not get the access to that book. Okay, that is what you mean by maintaining the current status of the resource, whether that book is available or whether it is not available. So that list is available with the library. Okay, so that job will be done by the OS again. See, these many jobs are being done by the OS, and will not come to know all these things. Okay, so you just switch on your system. You just click on some application. You just go on clicking on the application. If it doesn't respond, you will just scold the OS. What is this? It is not opening. It is hanging something and all. Okay, but in the background, all these tasks will be going on. So that is why the OS requires some time to process your requirements. Okay, so from next time onwards, don't scold your OS. Okay, because it is busy, man. Next, to perform scheduling. So we talked about scheduling, what it will do. Okay, so out of 3 or 4 programs, which one will you choose? Okay, depends on many factors. Okay, next, maintain information for protection. Okay, so information for protection means, see, it can be a password data. Okay, so such user, so let's say user number one, this is the password for user number one. So if someone enters that password, then only it will be given the access. Okay, that is what is the protection information. Next, handle requests made by the users and their program. Obviously, so suppose you want to open Microsoft Edge, so double click on it. Then you want to close it. So if you click close, so that should be closed. That is nothing but it is the request by the user to the OS. Okay, and whatever the programs, if a program makes a request saying that I want more memory, allocate 10 more MBs of memory or 100 more MBs of memory, that is the request made by the program. Okay, so it will be allocated to the program. Right. So now in the coming section, so we'll elaborate on this. We'll elaborate on program management, resource management, and security and protection. We will elaborate on them, and we shall see what are all the factors in them. Okay. So hope I'm able to convince you people. Okay.